Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Alpal here. Uh, so I was at work today, and I forgot today was the banned and restricted announcements for Wizards of the Coast, and luckily the Commander Rules Committee coordinates their announcements with the Wizards. So today we got some new ban cards, and we're gonna talk about them a little bit, and one new unbanned card. So, and I'm sure if you play Commander, you do this, and like that's the thing is like Commander's the format I play in paper the most. I know that I play Arena and play Standard. That's the only way I play Standard anymore these days. But uh, Commander is my place of preference, I would say. So I think it's important for me to kind of get into this kind of stuff and have a discussion about it. So we had two cards banned in EDH today. Um, the first being Paradox Engine. Now this one it really wasn't a surprise to me. I think people were thinking it was going to get banned sooner, if anything. I know that it was obnoxious when it first got printed because I mean I've had one up until recently, and I've used it in a few decks like King Makar. I used it in Brea. I'm pretty sure. I use it in Kydel and Vile Smasher. It's really good in that. I mean, it's just that like it's good in any deck you put it in, and you can put it in any deck because it's colorless and it doesn't require a lot of build around. And that's kind of where the rules committee was standing on this card in the first place. It's just kind of it's just a lot to deal with. If you don't answer it right away, it could mean the end of the game for you. In a matter of either that turn or the next, So I think this was a good decision. It's kind of like uh, it's similar to the Smuggler's Copter ban in a way, right? For Standard, when that came around, um, Smuggler's Copter was colorless. It could go into any deck that had the ability to crew the copter the turn after you played it, right? So, and not even that, you could block with it and still get the effect. And so they kind of warped the format around Smuggler's Copter, even though they did kind of like, it was kind of weird because they had a card that would have dealt with Smuggler's Copter. But, regardless, the point is that like cards that can just go into any deck and are beneficial regardless are kind of problematic, and this one just provided such an insane advantage that I could see why this happened. And like it just goes in anything. You play this in elves, and you're untapping all of your mana sources every time you play another elf. You're generating a ton of mana. Like it's really easy just to blow out a game in a single turn with a Paradox Engine in that type of deck. Storm, if you're running a bunch of mana rocks like an artifact deck, it's quite obnoxious for sure. And I totally understand where they're coming from with this. It makes total sense to me. Um, so there's not a whole lot I could say about that. Now, I've done a little bit of reading, and the other card they banned was Iona, Shield of Emeria. And when I first heard about that, I thought it was strange. I was like, that's kind of a weird card to ban. I mean, like, yeah, it's good in the fact that you could shut down a color, and when monocolored decks, if they get shut down, they can't do anything against it. And if you're playing in a pot of four, and all of your opponents have a color that they share, you're kind of just neutering them there in that instance. So Iona is I mean, when I first heard about it, I was concerned because I was like, well, she's expensive, but that doesn't matter in Commander. There's plenty of ways to cheat creatures out. Um, and especially since they just printed last year in Commander 2019, they just printed, I believe it's Geode Golem. There'll be a picture of it here, where if you play that in your Iona deck, all you have to do is deal combat damage with it, and you get to cast Iona for free. So that's just one way to do it. If you can find a way to get her into your graveyard, and you're playing like, oh, oh my god, sorry. If you're playing like a bunch of, no, we don't need all this. Are you done? Okay, so computer's freaking out here. Um, it hasn't had any action all day, and I don't blame it. Anyway, if she's in your 99 and you have ways to get cards into the graveyard, there's Entomb, and then of course there's ways to get her out, like Reanimate or Animate Dead. You know, there's like things can start to get pretty crazy from there, and so I mean, like now, I mean, and it makes sense the more I think about it. You want to, and their whole point is you don't want the game to be, you don't want to have people having too much of a negative experience in the game, and Iona just kind of does that. And so after thinking about it for a while, it makes sense as to why she wouldn't be allowed to stay in. And like from a design perspective, I think Iona must have been difficult to design, because if you had made her non-legendary, then you could just run multiples, you know, when she was, you know, printed. Obviously, if she was like in standard or anything else like that, even at the high mana cost, if you could get a couple of those out, if she was non-legendary, then you're kind of just shutting down an entire deck. And so, being legendary, though, you have access to her in the command zone, and so like you can just choose whoever is the biggest threat and shut off their most powerful color. And I mean, it doesn't take very long in getting into a game to figure out, you know, who you need to be targeting. And so Iona, after a day of thinking about this, again, like I was at work, I found out about this from one of my friends. I was like, oh man, I forgot about the rules. New banned and restricted. And then I seen Iona and I was like, well, that's kind of strange. And then I sat there and thought about it for a little bit, and I was like, it makes total sense. And then I realized that with the card they unbanned, they would have had to have banned Iona. And so let's go ahead and talk about this unbanned card real quick. And it's Painter's Servant. Now, I just thought this was... I wasn't thinking about the interaction between these two when I heard about this, so... which is silly, because now it makes total sense. If you want to have Painter's Servant legal in this format, you can't have Iona legal. It's just... there's just no way they could have banned that. Of course, they don't say that in their official announcement on their website, but... I mean, it makes sense. Painter's Servant is a combo with Iona. Basically just shuts everybody out of the game. And so if they said they wanted to take it out of the banned list for a while now, and you know, I just don't think it would have been safe for them to do that with Iona still legal. But of course they don't say that. But let's just talk about Painter's Servant for a little bit. I think this card's just still pretty busted. I think it's strange that they unbanned it in the first place. But you know, thinking about it, there's still probably ways that you can deal with it. Especially since it doesn't. I mean, okay. Well, the only thing that I just have an experience with it. A friend of mine wanted to build it. This was a long time ago. It's a funny story. He wanted to build 8 Tails. I think that was it. The Fox Cleric or whatever that gives protection. You can change the color of some. 8.5 Tails, I think is what it is. I'll bring it up here, but basically it would just be like a crazy combo with Painter's Servant. And then we found out that Painter's Servant was banned, and I was like, well, it's probably good because I didn't want to play against that deck. But anyway, coming back around, like in like that niche situation, yeah, Painter's Servant's probably not going to be dealt with unless you can board wipe. But otherwise, other than that, I think there's a lot of fun things you could do with this card, and I'm kind of glad that it's unbanned, and I think then it might be worth running in some decks just so that you have like some fun ways to combo that aren't just like super obnoxious, unless, you know, I mean, not obnoxious for you to do, right? So I know there are 4 that I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, 4. I think there might be one more. Actually, I know of three. I can't remember the fourth one. Maybe it'll come back to me. But Sphinx's tutelage is really funny with this because it makes all cards the color of that choice. So it doesn't matter if it's a land or what. So whenever you draw a card with Sphinx's tutelage out, you're basically milling somebody out all the way. So in a four-player pod, you just have to draw three cards in a turn, and you've won the game. And I imagine if you built around that, it wouldn't be that hard to pull off, but it's something that you could do. Like, I would say if you were going to go that route with Painter Servant and Sphinx's Tutelage, you could do it in like a Niv Mizzix deck, just as a way to Niv Mizzet. I guess I said Niv Mizzix, jeez. You could do like, because you're trying to draw a lot of cards in that deck anyway, right? So you just add Painter Servant, and you probably could be running Sphinx's Tutelage already, and all of a sudden, you know, you have an additional insta-win combo, right? Because, I mean, honestly, the Curiosity is a little bit difficult to pull off in big games because you might not have enough cards in your library to kill everybody, and so you need like something that's going to win you the game when you go to draw without cards in your library, right? So you just do Painter Servant, you just have to draw 3 times in a turn, and you can mill everybody out. It seems good. I think there was also Una was one of them. Yeah, Una was one of them. Uh, the fairy. She'll be here. She'll be here. Don't worry. While we're talking about the cards, I'll put them up. Uh, so Una, I should have pictures of these so that I know what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, okay. We're just gonna pull it up and talk about it because I feel like that this is gonna be one of my shorter videos for the page in the first place. Oh, choose a color. Yep, already, right there. Ooh, yeah, Una's really good. I mean, you have to have the mana to kind of go at it, but you get to exile a lot. Well, obviously, like I feel like if you just if you have Painter's Servant and you're playing blue black, there's plenty of ways to get infinite mana in that. So yeah, Una's a good one. The other one was Grindstone, which I believe is essentially like an activated Sphinx's Tutelage in a way, right? Yep. Yeah, so you just Grindstone and Painter's Servant are like the combo. Those are the 3 I can think of. There was one more I seen on one of the groups, and I just can't remember it. I mean, obviously Iona is one, but she's banned, so like these are just a few of the things that you could do with it. I'm sure there's quite a bit that I haven't touched on here, but I think you get the idea there. So yeah, that's. I mean, there was stuff banned in Modern today, but I don't play Modern. I watch a lot of Modern stuff, so I understand where they're coming from. But I'm not going to give my 2 cents on that because I don't know enough about Modern to know what I'm talking about if I tried. But so we're not going to get into the Modern bans. But that's what happened in Commander today, and I think it's going to be for the better. I think, you know, Paradox Engine was obnoxious. Iona was just too much hate, too much color hate to have access to in the command zone or in your deck either way. So I kind of have to agree with where they went with that today. At first, though, I will say I was a little like, what are they doing? Why would they ban Iona? But yeah, it makes complete sense. So anyway, that's all I got for that today. Keep an eye out for some other stuff. I have not been on Arena as often. I've been playing just mostly video games. But we'll get around to doing some stuff. I have a new series in the works. I'm probably not going to do deck techs. They just take too much time to put together. Things like this, where I only have to put up like 3 or 4, maybe even up to like 10 cards onto the screen, is probably a lot easier. And they're going to be a lot shorter. This is only going to be like a 15-minute video, which is nice, considering all of the gameplay and other things are anywhere between half an hour to an hour long. But yeah, we've got another. I've got a series I'm working on. I'm gonna maybe get into it soon. It's gonna be focused on Commander because I feel like if I'm gonna be showing my face for talking about things, it should be about Commander in the first place. Um, what else we got? We're still working on some Dark Souls. I've been recording that. Don't worry about that. We'll get some more PlayStation gameplay up as well. And maybe we'll find a way to work some form of a Commander deck talk into here. It's just kind of difficult, you know. I'm not as good at the editing or as fast at it, so I just don't feel very comfortable about diving right into it. But aside from that, I swear I brought my pop in here, but I guess I didn't. That's all I got for you guys. Let me know what you think about the new ban and restricted list for Commander. Um, are you happy about it? Are you not? You know, what's really funny about Commander in the first place, I don't know, I'm trying to end the video and just throwing in something else here, though, but sometimes banned cards don't really affect your playgroup, right? And so, like, for example, I know somebody in my playgroup that has a Paradox Engine, but I've only seen them play it once, and so I don't think it's like, and it's not like they needed it, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say, but nobody played it Iona. So, like, this banned and restricted whatever, you know, didn't really affect my playgroup a whole lot, which is kind of nice. But I know that can't be said for everybody. So let me know if this affected a deck of yours, or if like now you have to play a different mono white commander. You know, let me know what's going on there for you, what you think about all this. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. So spread the love and be kind, and we'll see you next time. Laters.